that day. That day, 9/11, Tom Suozzi was, it was election day for he was challenging Tom DiNapoli for the Democratic title nomination for county executive. So I wanted to help Tom, so I took the day off from work. And I happened to be at EMS. It was, 9 o'clock in the morning. The first plane had struck, and I was watching the TV, and I was there, saw the second plane, the explosion from it. They didn't realize what was happening. It was delayed. The guy in the helicopter who was given the news report was flying, and behind him, the second explosion came out of the second building. So he wasn't even aware. He was still talking about the first building, but behind him you could see the second building. Well, anyway, EMS reacted by, we called everybody in, and, we got ready over there, and I hooked up with Tom, who went to the ferry, and he made arrangements. When the ferry came in, he got a promise from them that if there was ever any kind of emergencies, that they would respond to our emergencies. So Tom called them, and they brought in ferry boats, and we went to the docking area by the World Trade Center. I was on the first boat that went in. We went in with empty boats because the goal was to pick up people and bring them back. When we landed, I and my other technician friends went on the grounds, and we started traveling through towards the side of the ruins. But we felt our need was more to the people that we're going to be transporting back. A lot of them were in shock, and a lot of them had minor injuries, and smoke inhalation, and didn't know what the heck they were inhaling. And dirt, so our main goal was cleaning people's eyes and noses and mouths, letting them rinse out, blow their noses, and irrigating their eyes, because all kinds of grit was in there. So we brought a boatload back, and then I stayed, and a new crew went back again. And it was amazing what was going on in the city of Glen Cove at the time. Everybody was mobilizing. They had volunteers, tremendous amount of volunteers. These people that were being brought back here, that we were evacuating from Manhattan, didn't live around here.
I know.
They just wanted to get out of the city. So we had people that were coming to volunteer to bring them clothes if they needed changes of clothes, bring them food, and transport them to wherever they wanted to go. So we had buses lined up from the ferry site that brought them down here. Eisenstadt's in that open field over there by the building project over there was where they then came, and we took the information from them, and then transported them and gave them phones to use, because there was first of all, there wasn't nearly as many people having cell phones, and they weren't working at the time in the city. So a lot of people didn't have any communication until they got back here. But the whole city mobilized. It was really wonderful. As a matter of fact, Tom Suozzi, he was being interviewed by, I believe it was CNN News. And he's saying that he's organizing a medical team, and he did. A medical team to go back. One of the ferry boats was going to be filled with nothing but doctors and nurses, and so they CNN put out a little banner across the bottom. Any volunteer medical people report to the Glen Cove, the ferry terminal. I happened to be in the ferry terminal when this was going on. I was back from the city at this time, and we were getting phone calls from all over the country. People volunteering, saying, I'm in Minnesota, but I can get there. Where do I report to? I'm in exactly. So it was like, thank you very much, but you have to be on Long Island right now to be able to, because you can't get to Long Island. Everything is closed. But it was just funny that there was an appeal, but everybody wanted to do something. So all these calls from all over the country were just people wanting to help. What could I do? So I went there on 9/11 as an EMT. It's not very publicized because it was only 3, but the court officers lost 3 court officers in the building. The courts in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, a lot of the court officers went over to help while the buildings were still standing. 3 of the court officers were killed. They were just missing at the time. And a lot of court officers, myself one of them, went to the side, where you saw if you recall, the long lines of the bucket brigades with the fire department and the police. There was also a lot of court officers, myself being one of them, that worked there for days. So I worked there for another 3 days of just staying there, and I would do my job at the courts during the day and go there at night and get maybe an hour of sleep before, an hour of sleep after. And I did that for several days until I was just too exhausted. But yeah, I did a lot with 9/11, and I'm very honored and proud to have been part of the attempted rescue and the recovery.